We just got our second NASCAR 26 dev diary that just came out literal minutes ago, and I watched it through one time to get an idea of what we're working with, and I'm going to turn that into a nice recap video for you guys here today. Now, this dev diary really dived in mainly to dynamic tracks, but it didn't stop there. It also touched a little bit on the new tire model. We even got a little bit of a look as well at the all-new peak performance training mode, but like I said, the big bit of this was the dynamic tracks, and we got a good proper look at it as well through some gameplay, so there's a good chunk to take in here in today's dev diary. Now, when we jumped into hearing about the dynamic tracks, we pretty well heard the same things that we heard from like the Q&A and about, of course, how the line is going to dynamically change and kind of that groove's going to widen throughout the race. All the same things that we've heard before, but we actually got a little bit of a small look, of course, at the guy playing the game and kind of running the bottom line early on at Bristol, but you do see the AI kind of running around higher around the racetrack. And you got this clip here that we just saw, but slowing it down, and you can kind of see all the, the darker part of the racetrack there on the bottom now. And the AI, like Kyle Larson's running a little bit higher as this guy who's driving here looks like he's clearing the 33 of Austin Hill. But what you see here is it looks like right now the groove is mainly towards the bottom. That's where you're seeing some of the darker stuff, but you do see a little bit of a darker patch kind of right where he's running in that middle line.
Grip levels will change as you run through the races, as the race progresses, and you'll be able to choose different lines and widen the racing groove, providing a much more exciting, realistic, and dynamic experience.
So it's not just a visual thing, it actually changes the way the cars drive, right?
The grip levels are changing as the race progresses, depending on where cars are running on the racetrack, so you're going to have to search around to find the grip.
Now, I don't really feel like I've learned a whole lot outside of how it's going to react, because I think it's impossible to really understand it truly until you actually have the game in your hands and you are feeling these dynamic tracks. But you're seeing right here a quick little time lapse. We don't really see, they only run just a handful of laps here in this little kind of quick time lapse, so you're not really seeing enough time for those tracks to really change, but you do see them kind of running a different line, going from the bottom to the top, and actually when they start running the top, good chunk of speed up there. But you're seeing the AI really all over the racetrack here, but it looks like there's a lot more grip on the bottom because he was gaining a lot more time on the bottom. Look at an example of him running higher on the track right now. He gains maybe a little bit of time, but there's not really a whole lot being gained there on the 2 of Austin Cindric. Now watch when he runs the bottom a few moments later. He is going to absolutely fly past AJ Allmendinger, and he's going to make a very noticeable gain on the 2 of the Penske Racing Ford there of Austin Cindric. So it seems like to me at this point in time, the dynamic track, it's mainly catered towards that bottom line. It might be a little bit earlier in the race, and that grip is not quite at the top line yet, considering, right now in NASCAR 25, for example, if you're not running the top, you're going nowhere, and especially against the AI. And what I noticed right here is clearly the inside line was where the priority was with the grip at this current time.
They're definitely going to notice that evolution, especially when you're looking at the entire length of the race weekend. So if you start out running the very bottom lane of every track at the very beginning of practice, and you run that lane through the entirety of the race, you can do that, but you will be leaving lap time on the table. So especially, it opens up more options as the weekend goes on, is the idea. In NASCAR 25, we wanted to promote multi-groove racing, and so we made, to the best of our ability, every lane work well if you were driving correctly. And that will not be the case, at least at the beginning of the race in NASCAR 26. You're going to have to find out for yourself where the grip really is as you move through the race.
That's really exciting to hear from me personally. As you see another look here at Bristol that we just saw, but we slow it down. They really like showing Bristol for the dynamic tracks. I wish we got a proper time lapse where they just through a quick little 50 lap time lapse or something, because there's not enough time to really see it properly, working. But what I am seeing again, though, is this is now on lap 51 of 65, and it still looks like to me that the inside line could still be kind of the priority right now in terms of where the majority of grip is, but also you're seeing he's held up in traffic behind, you got Allgaier, you got the 88 of Zilich, you got Riley Herbst as well, so not a great indicator here of like maybe if the grip has moved up at this point because he's clearly trapped in line behind some traffic. But you can see as well the AI that are on the top, just from here you can see that they're going backwards, but do keep in mind that is still against faster cars. There you got the 20, the 19, the 54, they're just going to be naturally faster. But look at the lighting here. Forget the dynamic tracks for a second. This right here, this shot looks absolutely phenomenal with the lighting. It is such a massive step up. I mean, everything just looks so much better right here compared to, say, NASCAR 25. You'll also be happy to know they did mention dynamic tracks actually in online as well, so that was a really good thing to hear. Another short clip of just racing here in Bristol around some of the AI. Look at all the different lanes being ran as well. I mean, the cars are literally all over the track, which is quite interesting to see here in Bristol. It feels like they've been worked on a little bit in that sense. So we also had the short clip here. This looks really good right here. At Charlotte Motor Speedway, you got Van Gisbergen, McDowell, and then the 12 here of Ryan Blaney, all running in different groups. Again, the lighting looks so much better in this game. Really a massive step up, especially at nighttime, which was a bit of a kind of unfortunate look to it, I would call it, in NASCAR 25 at a lot of tracks. They would then dive into some of the new tire model and echo some of the things that Matt Lewis had previously brought up, but dive into a little bit more detail. But in short, talking about again, you're not going to be able to get away with that. Some of these road courses and short tracks where braking is, required, you're not going to be able to get away with just mashing the brake at 100%. It's going to have, that lockup effect. You're going to make a mistake doing that, and you're probably going to miss a corner. And as well, not only that, but just getting back on the throttle as well has been another thing that's been overhauled. You can't just jam the throttle and get away with it. You're going to have to treat it now like a race car, and that to me is really exciting. And they also kind of talked about how, any track that requires braking, you're really going to have to relearn how to drive in NASCAR 26 just to kind of find those kind of limits of the brakes and as well the getting back on throttle. We had another few small looks as well here at some just cinematic shots. Now you saw some O'Reilly series at Martinsville. On top of that, we also got a look at a little bit of road course gameplay with the Cup Series. Again, the lighting looks so good here. This is Denny Hamlin, and actually going to notice right here Ross Chastain in the Kubota number 1 peeking his nose on the exit of the carousel. I did not notice. If you look at the exit of the carousel at the top of the screen, there's no tire pack. So I'm wondering if they haven't got the updated Watkins Glen maybe in the game, and maybe that could come later. I'm not really sure, but it looks like it's just the the previous Watkins Glen. As you see the Truck Series as well, racing here from Lime Rock Park, and I'm just noticing a really solid improvement just overall graphically, lighting as well, and that's going to make a solid difference in NASCAR 26 in terms of just eye candy. You see the skybox here at Watkins Glen as well. You see the overcast kind of look there with the clouds as they're racing in front of them with Chase Elliott and Carson Hocevar, seeing some side-by-side action as well, which is good. We then as well got to look at a few settings. They would mention that there's more settings in this game to kind of fine-tune the experience on your controller or your wheel as well. And they also would kind of talk about some more kind of improvements on the force feedback. But you notice here in the menu, you now have a crossplay tab at the top of the screen. Also a music playlist at the top of the screen. I wonder if that means we can choose what songs are being played or not. We also got this where you can actually test sensitivity now with your controller and stuff, which is actually really nice. And it's also at a simulated speed that it looks like you can change too.
This year we've been given the keys to the kingdom, if you will, as far as force feedback tuning, to really get into the deep code and make some pretty substantial improvements across the board.
I'm really happy to hear this because I myself was a little bit disappointed with the force feedback in NASCAR 25, just comparing it to other racing games I had played, such as iRacing or Formula One, just Automobilist 2, stuff like that. I felt like NASCAR 25 force feedback needed a lot of work, and of course them highlighting that we're getting a lot of force feedback improvements and also more ways to tweak that for every user. That is going to be really beneficial to not only me, but everybody else playing this game, because I really want to feel some of the track in the wheel more. That was the thing that I was annoyed by in NASCAR 25, and like curbs. You never really felt curbs very much at all in NASCAR 25, and now it looks like hopefully that's something I'm going to be able to feel. When I hit a curb, I'm going to really feel that in the wheel. I want to feel every bit and piece of the racetrack coming through my wheel, which was something we did not really have very much of in NASCAR 25. We got a few more looks here of ARCA, what appears to be Kansas at sunset. Looks pretty solid overall. See a lot of multi-lane racing there in the background as the number 55 looks to the inside of the 24. We also got another little shot here of Watkins Glen. You see more of that overcast sky over the top of the 11 of Denny Hamlin again here. It should have been shown like SVG for a road course. And Denny Hamlin runs like 15th on these road courses. I'm just messing, of course. But and then we also had a short clip of Daytona at nighttime. This looked really, really good. Look at the lighting in the background and just the lights reflecting off the cars and just how much better the nighttime lighting looks. It's such an improvement in this game. We also did get a brief look at the peak performance training mode here, where Steve Letard's featured, Jamie McMurray's featured. It looks like there's going to be episodes to watch for different track types, and also, I mean, it's all pretty self-explanatory of how it works, but you can see like the training difficulty, you can go up to 105, kind of similar to the AI difficulty of the game, and what I found interesting was it's got Ram drivers. So look at this early screen here. We're at Charlotte, and you got Jamie McMurray in his Ram fire suit, driving a Chevrolet, but we're about to get in the car here for session 1, and you got a lap time goal of a 31.533 second lap time. And then we've got also a ride-along with Jamie McMurray that you can do. So what I'm hoping is as well, and I would expect it, is there's going to be hopefully like live kind of commentary maybe from like Jamie McMurray as you're going through like a ride-along and stuff, where he's kind of guiding you at certain points of the track and what he recommends doing. I think that's going to be really cool if that's the case, and I really am looking forward to this mode. They did showcase the ride-along feature here, so you'll notice as they're coming to start the lap, they got like this little gate that you go through that's kind of saying, hey, this is kind of the optimal line you want to run, down the straightaway through the tri-oval, and as it continues down through the rest of this tri-oval, you're going to notice another like little cone here towards the left side of the track that you're going to kind of steer to the right of. You've got this clear racing line also kind of guiding you, and then it pauses and it says, hey, this is kind of where your liftoff point is here, right at the kind of Coca-Cola sign, or the two cones as well that are right there above the wall that you can also pay attention to, and then of course that's where you're gonna maybe lift off and start to make that turn into the corner. And then, of course, it's going to come up with kind of another recommendation here where it's going to bring up this red circle and kind of highlight. Maybe that's kind of where you're hitting, going down into your apex, for example. And that was pretty well everything that we kind of were able to take in from the dev diary. Obviously, the actual full-length dev diary itself dives into a lot more detail, which is linked down below in the description. I just wanted to kind of present to you guys kind of the main stuff that we were able to get out of that. They had a few different developers on this one of Steve and Mike, and I really, really appreciated what appeared to just their passion. Their passion for what they were making really came through in this dev diary, and I really appreciate seeing devs come in and be passionate about what they are making. And I myself, I'm happy with what I've seen so far. Again, the dynamic track, so I would have loved to have seen kind of more of that actually make like more of a time lapse and see how that groove was really changing. Honestly, I would have loved to just see even like a single car clip on the racetrack over the course of like 50 laps and speed it up into like a 20-second clip, but just to kind of see how that groove is moving around. I would have loved to have seen more of that, but at the same time, I'm also excited to experience it for myself whenever the time comes, and be able to see how that track is dynamically changing and how the AI are also going to be, reacting to that. And obviously, obviously was excited to kind of hear about the tire model changes and the braking and the throttle and the punishment you will receive for just mashing the brake or vice versa, slamming on the gas pedal, and also to hear about the just setting adjustments that we can do inside of the controller and as well the wheel. I don't see myself diving into the controller stuff very much, just because I probably, actually, I just remembered we're gonna have crossplay, so I don't think I'm ever gonna play on a controller again, to be completely honest, if I don't have to. I would prefer to stick with wheel now. Of course, since we have crossplay, we should be able to, play on PC from here on out. So, but I would certainly be diving into a lot of stuff inside the wheel and really try to get a feel that I feel in either iRacing or F125 as well, going into NASCAR 26. If I could get a feel closer to those games, I'd be really, really happy. But that's going to do it for me. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. There was a lot to kind of take in on that dev diary. I think there is still maybe one more coming soon, or maybe even two before the game comes out. I believe it's at least one. So I'm looking forward to that, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.